Today we are discussing hair. Hair is a topic that occupies the minds of many people. There are people that are losing their hair and want to halt or reverse that loss of hair. And today we will talk about all the ways that science has taught us we can slow or even reverse hair loss. What we know is that by age 50, approximately 50% of all men and women will have experienced significant enough hair loss that they start to notice it. In fact, most people who experience even marginal hair loss undergo pretty severe anxiety. Here's why. If you stress too much, it can actually make your hair fall out. For instance, one of the longest standing treatments for halting and reversing hair loss is so-called minoxidil, that increase blood flow and that might increase the rates of hair growth or more likely increase maintenance of hair that one already has. Minoxidil has been shown to be effective at slowing rates of hair loss in people that are starting to experience some hair loss. I should also mention that minoxidil treatment, if you pursue it, is likely something that you are going to have to do for the rest of your life if you want to hold on to the hair growth that you obtain with minoxidil, or if you want to maintain the hair that you are already maintaining with minoxidil. Everyone who goes on minoxidil has to stay on minoxidil because when they cease taking minoxidil, even if they're doing other treatments, they lose the hair that they gained with minoxidil. So that is an important consideration. So now I'd like to discuss the ways that one can chemically adjust certain things within the hair growth pathway in order to stimulate hair growth or halt hair loss. The first thing on this list is actually going to be pretty surprising to a number of you, and that's caffeine. By ingesting caffeine or by applying topical caffeine ointment or cream to the scalp, you can suppress PDE sufficiently enough to increase IGF-1 and increase some hair growth, or at least maintain hair growth in that region. Keep in mind that topical caffeine ointments shouldn't necessarily be applied every single day. So this is the sort of thing you might do 3 times a week. And also, don't be surprised when I tell you what I'm about to tell you now, which is no, you can't simply just drink more caffeine in order to accomplish the goal of offsetting hair loss. So there's one very direct way to increase hair growth and maintain the hair that you have on your head, and that's to increase IGF-1. That can be accomplished through prescription drugs such as growth hormone and things that stimulate the release of growth hormone and IGF-1. Keep in mind, growth hormone is released from the anterior pituitary during the first hours of sleep, especially when you haven't eaten anything for the 2 hours prior to sleep, and especially when you get regular bedtimes. If you are going to sleep at variable bedtimes, especially if you go to sleep much later than your usual habitual bedtime, you will miss that growth hormone pulse that normally occurs in the first 2 to 3 hours of sleep. You do want to try and get that natural growth hormone release each night. And as I mentioned, there are prescription approaches, and those are growth hormone itself and things like sermorelin, which is a peptide that increases growth hormone. Both growth hormone and IGF-1, as I mentioned, are available by prescription, and they increase hair growth. They can increase turnover of skin. They can make skin look more youthful. All these things sound wonderful. That said, a number of people are using sermorelin as an indirect way to increase IGF-1 and thereby to increase hair growth. It does seem to be fairly effective in doing that, especially when done in conjunction with other treatments that we'll talk about. But keep in mind, these are prescription drugs and they do carry their own risks. The other thing about stimulating the natural production of IGF-1 is that, as its name suggests, insulin growth factor 1, you want to avoid being insulin resistant, because being insulin resistant and being obese can indeed lead to hair loss. There are a few supplements, so these are over-the-counter supplements, such as myo-inositol, taken at dosages of about 900 milligrams before sleep, which, by the way, can also assist in sleep, or things like berberine or metformin, which are known to improve insulin sensitivity. Each and every one of these has its own profile of positive and negative effects. The lowest number of side effects is associated with 900 milligram myo-inositol taken about 30 minutes before sleep, mostly because it can make people a little bit drowsy. But really, exercise and maintaining a healthy nutritional program are also going to be key. You just can't discard those. The other thing that's really important for maintaining proper hair growth, this anagen phase, is that you need sufficient iron. For women, the levels of iron that you want are somewhere between 25 and 100, and for men, somewhere between 30 and 150. Iron plays a key role in the anagen phase of hair growth. So you want to make sure you at least have sufficient iron, and if you don't, you want to make sure that you're getting it from nutrition and or supplementation. It's also known that when taken at about 300 milligrams of saw palmetto per day, divided into 2 or 3 doses, that's going to very likely help you hold on to some of the hair that you would have otherwise lost, maybe even grow some new hair. Another commonly discussed and used commercial compound for offsetting hair loss and stimulating hair growth is ketoconazole. Sometimes this is known as Nizoral, where Nizoral is the brand name of a shampoo. So ketoconazole has been shown to be effective in increasing hair number. It's also also been shown to be effective in increasing hair diameter. The use of ketoconazole shampoos 2 to 4 times per week with a scalp contact time of about 3 to 5 minutes has been shown to give about an 80% response rate of maintaining hair that would otherwise be lost. Now, if you decide to use ketoconazole as an approach to offsetting hair loss, it's very important that you get a hold of a shampoo that's at least 2% concentration of ketoconazole. The major player in this whole story to maintain or increase hair growth is going to be finasteride and its close cousin dutasteride. It can increase hair count by as much as 20%. Finasteride treatment done properly can reduce hair loss in 90% of all people that take it. And in addition, it's known to increase hair thickness by about 20 to 30% overall. Also should point out that finasteride comes in 2 major forms. There's an oral form and there's a topical form. Topical finasteride is typically taken in 1% solution or ointment and rubbed into the head. Sometimes it's now also incorporated into shampoos, but typically it's put into a solution that people rub into their head. And it is thought that the 1% solutions are equivalent to 1 milligram of systemic finasteride. The dosage recommendations that I was able to arrive at based on the clinical studies and frankly in discussion with some doctors who prescribe finasteride were the following. 0.5 milligrams to 1 milligram of finasteride as a tablet per day seems to be an effective and pretty safe starting place for most people, and thereby, taken for a long enough period of time, should offset hair loss and stimulate hair growth. If you decide that finasteride is right for you, you get a prescription. I would hope that you're monitoring your DHT levels and other hormone levels. That would be ideal, and working with a doctor, please.